How you doing? Today is the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July to everybody. I hope you get to enjoy it with your families and friends and don't lose any fingers. But today I figured I would celebrate by doing something fairly American, and that would be wrenching on an 80-year-old tractor. So today we're going to go over and work on the F20. I didn't get the radiator together, but I did get the carburetor back together, and I found the carburetor has a what they call an economizer valve, and it goes on not the I guess you could call it the linkage end of the throttle shaft in the carburetor, but it goes on the opposite side underneath that copper or brass cap that's held on by 3 screws. I can show you when we get over there, but there's an economizer valve. It's almost like a bushing that allows fuel to be regulated in the idle circuit of the carburetor, and it turns with the throttle shaft. And there's also I can't remember what it's called, but it's almost like some type of drive. Apparently it's only used on the crawler versions of the 20 and 30 series. But anyhow, I was able to rob those 2 parts out of the spare carburetor off of the parts F20, so that was good, because they were missing in the 1938 carburetor. Or I shouldn't say the economizer valve, which looks like a bushing, that was there, but it was froze up. I was able to get that free and polished, so I was able to reuse that. But the driver, I had to rob out of the spare carburetor. So that's kind of where we're sitting with that. But today the goal is to get the motor unbolted first thing, and then slide it forward so I can put that clutch cover on, that clutch inspection cover, and then slide it back, and from there we'll bolt the carburetor on, get that done, and the governor linkage, and I'm going to clean the gas tank out, and the fuel bowl assembly, and the oil and fuel lines. I'm going to clean those out and try to reuse them. We'll see what kind of flow we get through there. And then mount the Magneto and make sure it's timed. And I don't think I'll be able to get the radiator together today. Maybe, we'll see. But I had to order a fan belt because I couldn't find anybody that has one in stock. They're a really wide fan belt. I think they're about 7/8 of an inch wide, so they're hard to come by. Excuse me, but maybe we'll have a chance at a 4th of July fire up. We'll see. I think that may be possible, but it may be difficult without the radiator together. But I would think that I can install the fan belt with the radiator in place, so if I do get the radiator together and in, I can fill it. Well, I don't know if I'd fill it with water, but I could, and then go from there. See what happens, because I got to be able to mount the hand crank in order to crank it over. I don't have a flat belt or a belt pulley on the Farmall M, and I don't have a PTO drive that I can hook up to both tractors. So I'm hoping we can have a 4th of July fire up. Today, everything's going pretty smooth, so let's keep those vibes going, and we'll see what happens, alright? Okay guys, what I did was I took this strap, wrapped it around the back of the motor, I lubed up the frame rails so everything would slide, and then I just ratcheted the motor forward probably about an inch or so, which left me just enough room to get this clutch inspection cover on. So that was the culprit. If this belly pump wasn't there, I would have had plenty of room to get at it, but I wasn't really thinking about the belly pump when I slid the motor back, and I completely forgot about that clutch inspection cover. So I did make a little paper gasket to go underneath this too, just to help keep some of the moisture out. Made sure this drain hole was clear. So I'm going to go ahead and move the motor back now. So I'll probably hook it well around the front of the motor, and then maybe to the bottom of the steering post there. We'll see. So alright, let me figure out what I'm going to do next here. Alright guys, as you can see, we've made a little progress here. Basically though, all I did was install the Magneto. So I got number 1 on top dead center of the compression stroke, and then I set the mag to fire on number 1, and I connected the wires, and everything looks pretty good. So from here, I think I'm going to install the governor linkage for the carburetor. So let me grab my tripod and I'll kind of show you. Basically, the governor linkage comes through this fitting and onto this lever here. So let me grab my tripod and we'll get that done. Probably install the carburetor next. See if I can get this to set. So I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but now I didn't touch when I took this apart, I didn't touch the inner nuts, because that is what's going to constitute the adjustment for the governor. So I just removed the 2 outer nuts. That way when I slide this back in, it'll butt up against these nuts, which haven't moved, and then I can just tighten down these 2 nuts. So So essentially, see if I can get you a better angle. Essentially, it's going to look like this. So those 2 inner nuts are right here. The shaft comes through the governor, and then we'll put the 2 outer nuts on the outside here. So You want to be very careful not to drop the nuts down inside this governor, because they'll go right down to the timing gears. So we're making pretty good progress. It's just a matter of going slow. I think it helps that I'm started fresh today. Saturday just wasn't my day. So there we go. Got that both nuts. The first one is just the nut that tightens everything down, and the second one is a lock nut. Same thing on the inside. So let me go grab the carburetor, and essentially this is going to get bolted to the manifold, and then everything here connects to the carburetor. So set the carb down. So basically underneath this cap, I'll take it off just so you guys can see it. Okay, so underneath this cap you can see this brass. It looks like a bushing, but it actually turns with the how it's supposed to here. Let me get it broke loose. I'm not sure why it's seized up on me, but probably because I didn't spray any lubricant on it. Okay, let me there we go. Okay. Now it's got plenty of lubricant on there. So essentially this brass bushing turns with the throttle shaft, and it helps with the idle circuit. It's called an economizer valve. So that is held onto the shaft by a tapered pin, and then this driver, which I believe is only used as on like a T20 or T30 crawlers, but anyhow, that is also held on by a tapered pin. So, and what I did was I used a finishing nail, because it's got the head on one side, and then I bent it over and cut off the excess on the other side. So it's not factory, but it'll work just fine. So let me put that back together quick, and we'll install the carburetor. And then I'm probably going to spend some time cleaning the radiator tanks and then assemble the radiator so that I can get that installed. And while that is setting up, I think I'll soak the sediment bowl from the fuel tank. That way that is nice and clean. Alright, let me, I don't even think I have bolts for this carburetor here. This is very similar to my M. It's got this drive tab on here, and that has to engage in that slot in the throttle shaft. So that's probably the toughest part, is getting that lined up. Alright guys, as you can see, we've got the carburetor mounted. Everything's hooked up there. Governor's wrapped up. And now I've cleaned out the radiator as best I could. It's pretty rusty in there, a lot of flakes, but I got it as clean as I could. So I cleaned up the mating surfaces. And now, basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create the overflow tube. And basically what I did is I drilled and tapped this hole out. This is where the overflow tube connects. And I've got this fitting. It's a brass fitting, or copper, whichever, and I've got a compression fitting that threads onto this end. Whoops, sorry, I had a mosquito on me. Compression fitting that threads onto this end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1/4-inch copper pipe or copper tubing through here and into here, and then once I get my depth set correctly, I'll tighten it down, and that'll prevent the tube from leaking as well as moving in and out. So, but in order to do that, I have to get it out of the box here. I also have to determine what length I'm going to need. I can always make it extra long. It's the the height of the radiator that determines the length of the overflow tube. So I should mount this to my tripod if I want it to be stable, huh? So. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm getting it about, an 1/8 of an inch from the inside of the top of the tank. Here, I'll show you. If you can see down inside here, let me get my flashlight. You can see that it's about an 1/8 inch or so from the top of the tank. And actually I can adjust this height because I need to tighten down this fitting first. Take the camera out of here. Now I can remove that and this fitting will stay in place on the tube. So let me get set up here and I'll start getting the radiator together. Alright guys, as you can see, we've got the radiator back together, and I actually had to run and get more bolts, as well as I put the side panels on the wrong sides, so I had to flip those around. But we've got the new dust shield in place. I've got the fan shroud in place because I think this will have to be on prior to sliding the radiator into place. So bear with me as I struggle with this thing. Hopefully I don't drop it.
Now on these hose clamps, I always put one joint opposite of the other. I know it's not aesthetically pleasing, but I do that to try to prevent leaks. So I've got that one in place. Let me get this top one in place here. Oh, that one was a lot easier. Okay. Some work here. Give me a few moments.
Hey guys, well, as you can see, we're not in the shop anymore when it comes to working on the F20, but I did get the fan shroud in it, and I did. You have to excuse me. I'm using my phone here because I can't figure out what's going on with my GoPro. Something goofy's going on with it. So anyhow, I did get the fan shroud in, and I've got the hand crank mechanism in, which, by the way, just so you know, if you try to install the hand crank mechanism as a complete unit, you have to do it before the motor's in, because the shaft for the hand crank won't allow the whole mechanism to go through the front bolster because the crankshaft pulley gets in the way. So you basically have to remove the radiator and remove the motor again in order to get the hand crank mechanism through. I didn't have to do that. What I did was I cut about 1.5 inches or so off the end of the hand crank shaft, and it's shorter now. It'll work, but it's short. So anyhow, that's where that's sitting, and I ran out of patience that day, and it was already getting late. It was 6 o'clock in the evening. So unfortunately, we didn't get it fired up for the 4th of July, but that's okay. Hopefully this weekend, I brought the gas tank home with me, and I also have the fuel bowl, the sediment bowl. I'm going to have that, clean that out and soak it, and hopefully that is it. So, and I did find a set of used wheels and tires. They're cut off flat spoke wheels with 38-inch tires already mounted. The tires aren't in the best shape, but they hold air. And I found them for about $100, so I can't pass that deal up. Instead of me putting all this effort into trying to patch all the holes in these rims that I have, or at least the one rim, the other one's still okay. But that will also allow me to use that spare set of tires I got for the Farmall M originally. I'll be able to put those on the M, which is good, because one of the tires is bulging, the tube is bulging through the tire, so that's going to need to be replaced soon. So that's where we're sitting. We only got a little bit of work to do, and hopefully we can just fill it up with some fluids and some gas, and it'll start right up. So thanks for watching, thanks for wrenching, and I apologize for not getting the end of it over at the shop there, but I don't know what's going on with my camera, so I'll try to figure that out before the weekend. Otherwise I'll have to film everything with my phone, which is kind of a pain in the butt because I don't have a tripod for it. But anyhow, you guys take care. I hope you had a great and safe 4th of July, and thanks for watching, thanks for wrenching with me, and we'll see you later.